Well, just moments after Donald Trump's victory speech, his son Eric Trump spoke exclusively to India today, and he said that he wants to thank the Indians for the tremendous support that they gave his father. Let's listen in quickly to Eric Trump.
So your comment on Indians and Hindus, the way they've supported you?
We had tremendous Indian supporters. Amazing, amazing. We'll never forget it. It was really incredible.
Thank you very much, sir.
In fact, Nishant Chaturvedi, who spoke to Eric Trump, is now joining us with more details. Nishant, you know, Donald Trump made that extra effort to reach out to Indian Americans, and today his son is thanking those people.
Yeah, you know, Maha, it's surprising. I went to, I'll give you one case study. I went to a few areas like New Jersey, which is completely a democratic town. It's known as mini India in America. And I went to Oak Tree Road, which is only full of Indians. And what I gathered from there that they're not going to vote for Democrats this time because they wanted a change. Primarily because they had so many functions with Trump and his family, and then Trump came out with a tagline, Ab ki baar, Trump Sarkar, and then Eric went to New Jersey, did a puja in a Hindu temple. So the way they tried to reach out to Indians, especially considering the fact that there was a lot of fear in the minority communities here, they were thinking that Trump will create problem for immigrants because the way he was giving statements. But then from the campaign managers of Trump, it was very obvious that he's making an extra effort to reach out to Indians.
Yes, Nishant, and you made a very pertinent point there that there was a fear as far as immigration and other issues related to India are concerned, as far as outsourcing is concerned and taking away jobs back from India is concerned. But it appears that the campaign managers of Trump managed to set all those issues that the Indian American community had aside. How did they manage that?
Well, there are two things. One, he was appeasing his local audience, which is people who were very... okay, let's go back to his speech right now. The first thing he said that America is ready to work with countries that are ready to work with America. Now, that's a very different statement from what he was actually saying when he was campaigning. Then he thanked Hillary Clinton. He said, I want to congratulate Secretary Hillary Clinton, and she congratulated me as well. So, he was appeasing his constituency, but then he realized that at some point of time he will be needing a complete support, and without that support you cannot get these numbers. And precisely for these reasons, there were people involved. I'll get Mr. Sherry Kapoor right now with me, and he'll also explain you as to what all things they did. But they ensured that Indians and minorities, they don't run away from Republicans because they wanted everyone to be behind them.
Yes. Nishant, you know, you were inside that room when Donald Trump was making that victory speech. I want you to take us through the mood that prevailed in that room while that speech was on.
I'm sure I've just fed some visuals and I've fed some walkthroughs from inside. It was unbelievable. There were people who were crying. There were people who were looking at Donald Trump. Donald Trump walked in with his entire family. The first thing he did was he thanked Secretary Clinton, and then after which he thanked his entire family, met all the family members, and then he thanked his entire team and Vice President, and also the people who used to be considered anti-Trump, and he said there's nothing like that. So the moment he got the job, the moment it was declared that he's now going to be the president, the first line he said, sorry for the delay, it's a complicated business. Now that says it all as to what Donald Trump wants to convey, and there's something about this man. He's not a politician. He's a businessman, and he's a New Yorker. Let's not forget that. And he knows how to get connected to people in New York, and he knows how to get connected to Americans. because whatever the polls may be saying, let's not forget the fact that there was more than 6% people who were undecided, and it was this undecided factor that turned around the things for him.
Nishant, also on the streets of New York, we saw emotions really high with people getting into fights which were supporters of Clinton and supporters of Donald Trump. Did you witness any of that?
Well, unfortunately, since I was inside the ballroom, so I was not able to go outside. But what happened inside the ballroom also conveys what is going to happen in future. Though Republicans are known to completely go with the Second Amendment, which is having the gun and things related to it, and they were vehemently against what Democrats were talking. But Donald Trump mentioned one thing very clearly. It's time that all of us should come together. It's time that all of us should work together, and it's time that America becomes united again.
Yes, absolutely. And we've heard him say several times during his campaign, Nishant, let America be great again. And that's something that his supporters, while walking out after listening to his victory speech, were also saying. Nishant,
Maha.
many thanks. Yes, Nishant, go ahead.
Maha. Maha, I have with me Mr. The man, I would say he's the architect of the Hindu votes that Donald Trump got. He needs no introduction. So, Shalabji, what will you say now?
Oh, well, frame your question. What are you asking? I wasn't paying attention.
What are you feeling now after this?
Oh, I am feeling...
You told me that this is going to be a Diwali.
Yes, I'm feeling a little bit, let's say, relieved that what we planned to do did come through. That is time to go out and celebrate. I think I need to go out and get some sleep.
I somehow, yeah, I know that for sure that he's been sleeping probably maybe 1 hour or 2 hours every day. But you were the architect behind Ab Ki Baar Trump Sarkar, and that struck an emotional chord. And the functions with Eric Trump had with the Hindu Indian community. Were you so sure that these things will appeal to Hindus? What was running in your mind when you were designing all these things? What was the main idea behind all this?
Well, he was the first candidate for president, maybe not even for president, even for the Senate, who reached out to the Hindu American community, Indian American community in such a big way. Okay? And then when he decided to do that, when he would basically had some thoughts to do that, and when I met with him and we clicked, and he decided to engage in this whole campaign and actually come to a charity concert 3 weeks prior to the election, where lots of people said, I don't know what's wrong with Mr. Trump. It's not that big of a voting bloc, but he went ahead and did that anyway because he was convinced that we are going to be able to make a substantial difference in the outcome of the election. So by proclaiming, using the word Hindi, speaking Hindi, Ab Ki Baar Trump Sarkar, so he's got the genius to understand that that will help. And
we know the brain behind that.
Okay.
Back to the studio.
Many thanks, Nishant, for getting us those voices there from New York. He's the same person yesterday who said that, or rather claimed that the celebrations in the Hillary camp are not going to take place. That, appeared true today. In fact, United States is all set to get a Donald Trump Sarkar. After the landslide victory, Donald Trump has kept aside his divisive approach, calling for unity in America. Beating all the odds, underdog Trump has emerged triumphant, bagging 276 electoral votes. Now, while Hillary took clear lead in the eastern states, Trump swept the southern and Midwest states. Among the big states, Hillary won California, Illinois, New York and New Jersey. Donald Trump backed Texas, Ohio, Indiana, Tennessee and Florida.
I've just received First, I want to thank my parents, who I know are looking down on me right now. Great people. I've learned so much from them. They were wonderful in every regard. I had truly great parents. I also want to thank my sisters, Marianne and Elizabeth, who are here with us tonight. And where are they? They're here someplace. They're very shy, actually. And my brother Robert, my great friend. Where is Robert? Where is Robert? My brother Robert. And they should all be on this stage, but that's okay. They are great. And also my late brother Fred, great guy, fantastic guy. Fantastic family. I was very lucky. Great brothers, sisters, great, unbelievable parents. To Melania and Don. And Ivanka. And Eric. And Tiffany. And Barron. I love you and I thank you, and especially for putting up with all of those hours. This was tough. This was tough. This political stuff is nasty and it's tough. So I want to thank my family very much. Really fantastic. Thank you all.
Smita Sharma, Deputy Editor in New York, is now joining us. So with the latest, Smita, was this the speech that was delivered by Donald Trump, victory speech, did it betray another Trump there, really? Because from what we've heard during his campaign, loud, rhetorical, was this different from that?
It definitely was, and perhaps it absolutely had to be, Maha. You know, we have seen it in our own election scenarios in India, where it can be a very high-pitched campaign, but when a leader does win an important election, obviously then he just doesn't remain the leader of that single party, but he's catering to the larger audience. And in this case, Donald Trump has to now take care of an entire country, and not an ordinary country, but a superpower nation. So, you know, we still happen to be at the venue. It's 4 a.m., of course, in New York. It was a very long and a fascinating night as history was made in the United States. Mr. Joseph is still here with us. He's a Republican supporter. Mr. Joseph, you came to US as a young child from Italy with your parents.
Yes.
And to see somebody like a Donald Trump win the election, what's coming to your mind tonight?
I think it's a great thing. America finally, you know, is going in a different direction. People waited. We have a lot of problems in this country, and I think Mr. Trump could fix it. I know him because I used to work for him at one of the biggest casino, perhaps in the United States, and Trump Taj Mahal at Atlantic City. I was the marketing director for the casino, and Mr. Trump is a fair guy, and he allows a lot of people, different nationality, to work for him, men, women, and every ethnic group. And so I think.
But then why was his campaign so divisive? You know, there were such sharp words about immigrants, and America is built with immigrants.
Well, listen, America is a country of immigrants. What Mr. Trump was saying is simply he wanted to stop the illegal immigrations, because there is the Naturalization Act, which has a certain preference, and there is 6 ways to come to this country. 1, 2, 3, and then the 6th was a labor certification, and people didn't follow that anymore. So if I had a brother or sister, I would fight under the 5th preference, and they have to wait 10 years from Italy by the time to come to the United States, whereas the other people would just come in, and you cannot allow it. According to NCOLT, that we don't have 12 illegal millions in this country, but we have like 35 illegal aliens. So that's not impossible, because they are draining the economy of the United States, and it's costing us $113 billion a year.
But, you know, all these election speeches have raised a lot of panic as well. One final question. You said that you knew Mr. Trump because you worked with him as a marketing director in his casinos. What was he like a person then? And has he changed as a person now? What the Donald Trump that we saw on the stage tonight, his tone tenor definitely seemed very different from the Donald Trump during the election campaign.
Well, during the election campaign, you know, Mr. Trump is a guy that likes to fight. I mean, he's a creator. He likes to fight, and he was in campaigning. Tonight, you heard Mr. Trump as a president for everybody, trying to unify the country, and his speech, I think, is very clear. In fact, even in the last month, you could see that Mr. Trump attitude started changing. He's talking differently, and of course, I mean, there is the campaign, there's the fighter, and now is the president, the unifier, the father of the whole nation. That's the way it is in American politics.
Right. So as we say, I think in any democracy, Maha, you campaign in prose, but you govern in poetry. But that definitely seems to be the case here. Also, be it the world's largest democracy in India or the oldest democracy in America, leaders, of course, once they come into that position, people can only help that there would be an institutional or a systemic sort of a check and balance, so that some of the statements which might have hurt the larger sections of people, those statements are perhaps measured in and not translated into real action where it's not needed.
All right, Smita, stay on with us because Jugal Purohit will now quickly give us the top 5 reasons we believe helped Donald Trump cross that 270 magic figure.
That's right. We've put together an analysis of just what happened, what took place, why did Donald Trump win and why Hillary did not. Let's move straight to the graphics. Here it is. Appealed to the insecurity of voters. Donald Trump's speeches, his rallies were marked with that aggression, with that rhetoric, which was appealing to the insecurities, blue-collar workers, rural workers. Hillary was an insider. Donald Trump used the outsider's appeal to actually, seek votes. Islamic terror, immigration, bogey worked. Of course, his tirade against the terrorists coming in was very much there to be seen. We'd seen instances of Khizr Khan, Captain Khan, the martyr of U.S. Army. His parents too had riled up against Donald Trump. He exploited the lack of trust. The email scandal, which the FBI investigated, investigated and closed again, that was exploited to the hilt. He, of course, highlighted Obama's economic weaknesses because 8 years of a precedent from the Democratic Party. At the end of those 8 years, Hillary Clinton, again from the same party, was seeking a re-election. He highlighted that the situation had not really changed much to his advantage, of course. Moving on further, this is, of course, speaking about Donald Trump's 5 top reasons why he won the race to the White House. Back to you.
Many thanks, Jugal. Let me go back to Smita Sharma for a bit. Smita, I want to know from you whether celebrations are still on the streets of New York. You said it's 4 a.m. there, but are people still out celebrating?
Well, when I was coming into, of course, this venue, I saw long queues of people waiting with flags, chanting. But of course, people will take time for this to soak in. New York, remember, traditionally has been a blue-leaning state. But Donald Trump has always epitomized the kind of glamorous, glitzy spirit of New York. Let me also get in a quick word from another Republican who joins us now, Mr. Edward Young. You've, of course, been campaigning for Donald Trump, for Melania Trump. How are you planning to celebrate tonight?
How am I planning to celebrate tonight? Actually, I'm going to gather at a local tavern with some other people who have been working for the Trump campaign. I'm celebrated out. I can hardly stand on my feet, but I think I've got to wind down a little bit. This has been the happiest day of my life.
But this event was essentially for very close friends and party supporters. For the larger people, larger masses, what are the party celebration plans now?
What are the party celebration plans? I haven't
heard of something yet?
Some of us workers for the campaign are going to get together and have a picnic in Central Park on Sunday. But I mean, look, this was a hard-won battle. We really weren't thinking about fun. We were still campaigning, making phone calls to the swing states tonight while this event had already begun. And at a certain point, my manager said, if I were you, I would get over to the Hilton, otherwise you might not get in. So I mean, we were thinking...
Which means till the very last point, you weren't sure that the results were going to come actually in favor of Mr. Trump, that he would win. So.
I personally wasn't. I was very cynical. I mean, they naturally were telling us things were going to be great, but I mean, look at the news. I mean, look at all the dirty, filthy tricks that the Clinton campaign campaign launched on us. I thought, I used to think, how could he beat these odds? How could he beat these odds? He has the entire Democratic Party against him, half the Republican Party, all the media except for Fox News. Even Fox News is only 50%. I thought he is one man against the world, but the people loved him. He spoke to the people. He was maybe for the first time since the beginning of this country a true grassroots hero.
Right. Many thanks for speaking to us. So there you hear it, Maha. Of course, people will be celebrating in their own ways, and the larger celebration plans will be detailed out later. But there will be several challenges on the way forward for Mr. Donald Trump as he finally moves to occupy the White House for the next 4 years at least.
Smita, but all I can say at the moment, the Republicans are definitely painting the town red. Let me go across now to Jugal Purohit, who's going to take us now through the top 5 reasons that we believe went against Hillary Clinton.
Well, don't we all remember that slogan, when they go low, we go high? It seems that they did try going high, but they went alone. And that's the reason why we're seeing Hillary Clinton and her Democratic Party at the losing end. Now, we've put together for you 5 reasons why we believe Hillary Clinton and her campaign did not really work. Not trustworthy enough. The ultimate insider, a First Lady, Secretary of State, not trustworthy enough. Of course, the email scandal had a lot to do with her situation. That's right, that's what I was talking about. The FBI twice investigated. It seems that the clean chit that the FBI did provide did not really help. The Latino support alienated the whites. Whites traditionally are Republican voters, and as our analysis puts out, the Latino support did not help. She said that she had survived 3 debates with Donald Trump, 4.5 hours of standing next to him, and thus she had energy. It does seem, however, that only she thought that she had the energy. And as I said earlier, Donald Trump's entire campaign was based on exploiting the insecurities among people. It seems that Hillary did not really succeed in addressing those insecurities. Her campaign was positive, was on the positive, optimistic side. We'd seen Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, a host of celebrities endorsing her. But it does seem that somewhere she went high, but she went alone. Back to you.
Absolutely, Jugal. For a person who was constantly being touted as leading the campaign poll predictions, it came as a shock to many that she could not cross the 270 magic figure. Jugal Purohit and Smita Sharma, both of you, many thanks for joining us with all those details.